Okay, and they are probably the capital world. Their citizenship is council system, and their citizenship is loosely. That's spelled wrong. Loose alignment. Oh man. Oh, why is my typing so terrible tonight? Loose alignment. Edge of Tomorrow. Thank you. That's what it's called. Let's call it the Coalition of Unfederated Systems. No. I almost like that. It's like direct opposition. So what's the opposite of federal? What was the South called again? Confederate States. I think we'll call it the Coalition of Confederated Systems. Confederated Systems. So they're the CCS. Which would be cool to put on the front end of a ship, like CCS Washington, CCS Lee, CCS Davis, like Jefferson Davis. Yeah, man. So these guys, yep, I like that. I like where that's going. All right, so they're the head of the CCS for what that's worth, mostly because they're superhuman warlords. Eurydion, Eurymedon, and the Halvig. Cold War. I think that they don't like outsiders here. And I think that Cold War mining. I think that the Surotomanese turned Eurymedon against the rest of the sector. Now a member of the CCS, this world has unique trace minerals not found elsewhere needed for spike drives. That makes it valuable to have as an ally. So this is the planet where trade happens. But their technology is crap, right? So they're TL3. And they hate outsiders. I think that they are probably a parliamentary system. No, they're communist. Yep. If it's Cold War, you gotta have a communist. They're a communist council, and they owe allegiance to the coalition of confederated systems. And that works out great because the coalition of confederated systems is basically just like trade agreements and a loose, agreement between people. The communists don't have to share their resources with other planets. They open trade to those planets and sell their really good minerals. People need to build starship engines, basically, and I think that the I think the local government is opposed by the populace and by outside world sponsored terrorists. So this will be where part of the players come into play. They could drop off covert agents on this planet to help encourage pro Bananese, pro federal society sympathies, blow up, government defensive installations, prepare the system for military conquest, or prepare the system for cultural conquest. Take it over, as we've seen already. For instance, Anjali and Valgerd. Valgerd was conquered by Anjali not through military force, but through technology and through culture. The Valgerdans, don't even know that they're being controlled. Much like the AI, again, controls its planets not through military force entirely, but through the religion of the planet Demetriades and the social science of Phastos from the Preceptor Archives. So that's a possible mission for the players. Either, attacking this planet covertly or defending it. Maybe they're sent by the Federal Society to stop the Surotaman Serotoninase from like infecting the populace with this anti-federal society hate. So another planet, another sector down. Let's look at planet Slomos. You know what? Here's another thing I need to do. I need to mark planets where the players can come from, which I will do with this. So obviously any planet that is in the Federal Society will be a place they can come from. I think Rusina is a good place. I think that not Surotama, but probably Eurymedon is a good place to have people come from. Especially for, like secret agents and, N7, oh, wrong side, N7 agents. Highly trained military officers. No better place to come from than a planet full of spies and oppressive governments. Pilgrimage site. So I think that this is the alien planet. Solomos is alien Mecca. It is... I think it's aliens that have no spike drive tech. Spike travel kills them instantly. They live only here, and other humans come to live with them in peace. I think it's going to be a planet with no weapons. And it calls itself a member of the coalition of Confederated System because alien government. So this government system is not understood by humans. Humans have voting rights there, but they don't really understand how it works because the aliens probably, I actually don't know how it works. We'll figure that out later, but I think that the government is one that humanity hasn't invented yet. And they are a member of the coalition. Probably the human side of the government has joined them. The aliens don't care because they can't leave the planet without dying instantly. Gold Rush and primitive aliens. Cool. Alright, so Grimhild has pre-tech. EL4 plus. Pre-tech specialists. I think it probably has a gold mine. It has gold mine as a tag, but this isn't actual gold. It has a treasury of land vehicles, underground installations. There was a subsurface archaeology that survived the scream. So it's like the vault. Imagine the vaults from Fallout, but imagine a vault where no psychics were allowed in. They didn't trust psychics, so they locked themselves up down here. Now, all the psychics are dead. Everyone on the planet's surface is dead. They come out of the archaeology finally, and they're like, oh shit, I guess we control the fucking planet. They don't have spaceships, but they do have all this great technology. And so, specialists on pre-tech and post-tech are found here. Charter member of Rusina. A lot of Rusinans come from Grimhild, where they bring their advanced technology and their advanced expertise, and they go to Rusina and sell it, and they live in space. And this is going to be a democracy, not like the American representational republic democracy, an actual democracy where anyone can vote in on any topic. So, they've got their super Google Glass smartphone brain chips, and they're, someone's like, should we put in a new traffic light at this traffic stop in this particular city? And everyone on the entire world can vote in on it. And so votes are finished very quickly. People can opt out of voting, and that's their choice, but anyone can vote in at any time. So that's Grimhild. It is a member of the coalition, but as it's a loose coalition, they only are members of coalition for like self-defense, right? Dynami is like right here at the edge of Koru. Koru is where the bad evil AI are. If the AI come to Dynami, they need everyone in the area to come save them. They need all the Rusinans. They need everyone else from the coalition. They need everything they've got, and so that's why they're part of the coalition, so that they don't get left out. Yeah, we're gonna develop the Santa system and Herodotus, and probably take a short break from there. So we already know that the planet Tindaris. This is where Mako from Vigil is from. So Tindaris is the Viking planet. It's Norwegian, Icelandic descendancies. What happens is they have a surface navy. All ships are seagoing. Each ship, let's call it ship fleet, is controlled by a noble house. When two fleets meet, a platform is set up for combat, melee combat, or, small arms combat. The winner takes over control of the fleets. So, really big fleets spend all of their time trying to absorb smaller ones and gather resources. And really small fleets spend their time gathering resources and trying to collide with other small fleets so that they can become bigger. And as we already know from Mako, from what he said as a player, it's got a very formalized government. There's military police. They don't have a lot of space navy, but they have a lot of naval tradition. And so I think the government is probably going to be a militocracy. You rise through the ranks. Nobles become noble. You get like a flag admiral rank. You become like a general or an admiral, or what's a air force still is called a general. So, and they do not belong to a thing. And I think it's going to be a planet people can come from. So let's close that. I don't know anything about these other planets. I didn't have anything in mind for them yet, so let's look at them. All right. Cooltham likes aliens, and it's a Badlands world. So, let's see here. I think that there's probably some form of... I think the aliens are dead. Alien Tomb World. And so this is like people who love alien technology come here. World is hard to live on. Accepting of outsiders. Strongly independent. I think their government is probably like feudalistic. You come to the world, you find the site. There's probably this planet has like a dozen local alien species, and they died out. And so when you come to the planet, you pick which alien species you like the most, and you live there, and you owe allegiance to the local person in the area, and they owe allegiance to the leader of that, let's call it that enclave of aliens, and then all of them are brought together underneath the dozen alien species. There's like an over-king who rules the planet. And finally, we have, this is going to be a really important world, because I noticed it had major space yard. And this is probably going to be the primary planet of the system. And this is probably going to be one that opposes the Federal Society. Bubble cities and major space yards. So I think this is another one where they live entirely in space, oppose Federal Society. Why? because they lived out the scream in space. Do not trust the other planets in their system. Humans here are adapted entirely to space. No immune system. Oppose federal society expansion onto nearby planets to block their growing influence. So it's not that they specifically don't like the federal society, but they don't want anybody having influence on those planets. They don't want the system to be overrun with federal society ships bringing new germs and new things. They've lived in space their whole lives for 800 years. Their whole culture, their religion, everything about them is space based. And they look down on Kulthum and Tindaris. These worlds are like jokes to them. And now the Federal Society is giving them technology, is giving them education and aid, and they don't want them to take over the system and push Otsana out of it. So, yeah, this is a rough life for them. But they also have a major space yard. So I think they are the source of all non-federal society ships and all non-powers institute, so let's say PI ships. So basically anything that isn't made by the Federal Society scavenging of Albin Beheri or made by the Powers Institute's advanced reverse engineering comes from Otsana, and they're willing to sell to anybody, especially the Coalition of Confederated Systems, as long as it means destroying the Federal Society. Or maybe not destroying the Federal Society, but keeping them out of the Herodotus sector. Now let's talk about Santa. Santa system is real. It's a police state with minimal contact. Interesting. The planet Rihanna. I think it was probably named after the actual Rihanna. Named after famous singer. Epitomizes her. I spelled that wrong again, too. So I think that probably when people go into space, they're going to name planets dumb stuff. There's a Penny Arcade comic about this where it's called the Susan System. Someone names a star after his mother, and then 1,000 years in the future, aliens come to conquer the Susan System. I think something like that happened. Like someone in the year 2700 was like, "Man, I really love this, turn of the millennia artist Rihanna. I'm gonna name a planet after her because I'm super rich, dog. I just bought a planet." All right. Now this place is a complete lockdown. Everything is controlled by the government through a combination of braked AI and psionics. And it's a corporate planet. So I think that the corporations, each one has its own AI and has its own like psionic ninja squad and its own troops. And together, this is where like Rusina gets a lot of its contracts from. They fight each other on this planet, and then the people who they bring in go home. They don't stay here. And they're constantly fighting. They're trying to become the one corporation to rule the planet. But all of them together recognize that the trade types that Sampras, remember, this is the planet that does most of the mercantilism from the Federal Society. They recognize that Sampras's trade laws are fucked up, and they don't want any part of the Federal Society. They don't want, one-way trade, all controlled by foreigners. They want to send their own stuff out. So they oppose the Federal Society. They're not exactly best friends with the corporate coalition of confederated systems either. But, they're kind of... Yeah. I think this would be a cool place for players to possibly come from. This gives them a lot of places to come from. Yeah. All right, so there's still a couple more planets, systems we need to determine. We got Ragnhild, which is going to be where I thought I would finish at about 11 for the first half of the program. So we're going to keep going. Yeah, Santa is real. Marculades. And this is the planet, not the system. It is where the Psionic Academy is. Academy open source Psi learning. Oops. Stole ships from Federal Society. Now launch secret raids to bring back psionics for free training. Super fauna and flora must be killed. All right, and I think that what type of government should we put here? Interesting. Let's open up my big book of governments. Fortunately, the Stars Without Numbers has a thing for this. See here, technocracy. That sounds great. So the people who control the Psionics Academy are in control of the planet. It's that simple. You know, they've got psionics, and they've got technology, they've got TL4 stuff. They are in charge. I think that's all there is to it now. We've already talked about how, you know, one of the things the players could do is oppose directly this. And one of the missions I'm going to have is definitely after Dave's character displays some psychic power. I think at some point the ship that the players is on, one of the missions is going to be like a bogus mission, and what's actually going to happen instead is that the ship is attacked and boarded by a Psionics Academy party who are trying to liberate Dave's character and give him the option to come learn and train with them. You know, they've heard what a great psychic he is. They've seen his military power. They want him. I think it'd be cool for them to be on the defensive for once too. And that planet, Marculades in the Ragnhild system, is hated. Right, so we have another 4 worlds here. But let's start with Sarita. Sarita's interesting because the planet Kamal is tech level 0. It is out of contact with outsiders and it hates outsiders. But what's really important about Kamal is that it is the library world. It is tech level 0. Oh, I should probably put that in here. Right, TL0. So it's basically like Stone Age technology. They can't make anything new. They have no minerals. They have no resources. But what they do have is millions of books in different languages. Society has evolved to the point where when you are born, you are issued a library card. That card is used in the planet-wide underground library everyone lives in. So these are like mole people now. They live underground entirely. They go up to the surface to hunt game and get food with like spears and axes and stuff. But there's like no trees. There's very few plants. There's no minerals here. This world was basically set up. The world was set up as a fallback for humanity in case of alien invasion. So it's a collection of the most influential works of humanity. And what happens is you get a library card when you're born, and it's like your social security card, and you just go through the library and read stuff. That's your whole life. You read, you get food, you get water, You read. They have the collected works of humanity's greatest stuff, and so they have a democracy for what that's worth. They, they everyone has a vote. Maybe whatever wing you're in, if they're like, oh, we need to stop killing so many, um, I don't know, pigs on the surface because we're running out of them. I read a book that said we should, encourage pig growth for, like a decade, and everyone's like, well, I'll read that book too and see what it says. And someone's like, well, I read Gun, Germs, and Steel. I think we should bring cows out here. Cows are a superior form of life. It says so right here in Gun, Germs, and Steel. I think it's a very odd planet. More importantly, because there's very few people on the surface at any given time, and there's no resources here, no ships ever come. Like, sometimes people come to Kamal to, like, pick up slaves, but those slaves end up being, like, really well-read people that are terrible at doing anything else. You know? They don't have any skills at making things or doing anything beyond cooking and reading. They have never worked with spaceship parts. They've never, run a factory. They know about factories. They know about running them in a, reading sense, but they have no practical experience in doing any of these things. So, yeah, I think they're going to be super cool to explore that. Let's go ahead and talk about Thoe. They have flying cities because of zombies. So I think Thoe is a site of biological weapon attack. So what's interesting about Thoe is, again, there we go. Thoe's cities are all TL4 anti-gravity platform. Childbirth is extremely regulated by the government. Only high-level government officials have children. The planet's surface is covered by burned out psionics, rapidly killing each other or procreating in turn. So there's like an enormous birth rate on the planet. There's some sort of biological disease down there that makes all humans psionic, but they also become insane psionics. So, like you hit 10 years old, bam, you're psionic, but you're also insane and you start killing people. At 10, you're now able to shoot, pieces of metal with your mind, or read someone's thoughts and like know what they're about to think, or cloak yourself in invisibility, or teleport behind people and stab them in the neck. Yeah, so the planet gets freaking crazy, but it's just like, what is it called? Chosen? What is that one DJ Wheat really likes, where they just have sex all the time? All they do is like kill and have sex. It has reduced people to the primal state. And so the Thoe like try to stay above, let's say, 1,000 feet. Maybe the virus can only survive at like a certain air pressure and temperature. There's probably, maybe it's like partly nanite as well, like it's mechanobiological, and the nanites can't survive a certain air pressure. And the floating ships stay above the planet. They don't have the technology to fly up out into space until recently. And I think Thoe is the head of a government as well. Gamer Siren, you've been pretty good at coming up with names so far, but if you want to throw a name up there, if anyone else wants to throw a name up there, I'm looking for a new name for a new society. And this is going to be... Is there a name for a government that only allows people that... I'm going to put theocracy, but that's not going to be correct. It's going to be a government where only those who are actually part of the government... Oh man, hydraulic despotism is perfect. Well, I mean, so far. So the thing that... Not hydraulic despotism, not specifically water, but the thing that the government controls is the birth rate. And so that's how they control the populace. You can't have kids unless you're a member of the government. So you want to become a member of the government and rise really high in the ranks. That means being loyal. I don't think this is going to be a planet I want players coming from, but it's definitely the center of a new type of governance. We'll figure out more about the other local governments second. Just so we out of the way. Here's a Markalade system that has 2 more. Oh, I think this is the planet that launched the attack on Thoe. Way back. Where is Markalades? Yeah. The post-Scream attack on Thoe. And let's learn more about it. There's ancient ruins and forbidden tech. Oh man, so there's probably like these leftover like alien Maltech. There was a alien Maltech research base here, abandoned after the incident. Humanity rediscovered it, and the Perimeter Agency suppressed it. But the agency collapsed post-Scream, and the planet government launched an attack on its hated foe, Thoe, crippling them forever. So now, as time went on, the battle between Kashkai and Thoe, the spike drive ships between the 2 planets broke down. Things got, heated. Eventually, like the rest of the Scream worlds, they couldn't get off planet anymore, but they still got this giant treasure trove of Maltech that they aren't sharing with anyone. And they're cool with Thoe now. Thoe is like, them and Thoe are chill bros. So, oh man, I don't know what to call this. I need a name. Let's look at this thing. Let's see if we got a political group here. Oh, I like the name the Ivory Pact. We're going to go with that. We're going to call it the Remembrance Pact. So all the worlds of the Remembrance Pact all remember the Kashkai attack on Thoe and never want it to happen again. They know the power of this Maltech, and they have chosen to use it only for, they have it, they just don't want to use it. They know how terrible it is. It's the new nuclear weapon. It's a deterrent. The Remembrance Pact has it, but they never want to use it again. And, that makes for a really cool, one of the missions could be getting Kashkai and Thoe attacking again, just to completely destabilize the local government. Alright. Hundreds of thousands of inhabitants. I think it's going to be a representational democracy. So we'll just call it a republic. Interesting. Yeah, guys. Fortunately, this is going to be the last planet we're going to do, Ortiz. I think probably when we get back, we're going to spend another 10 minutes finishing up the rest of the planets, and then we're going to start making factions. So if you have an idea for a faction, something I've said so far that interests you, or just a faction you'd like to see in general, let me know. Of course, we already have these 5 factions that we know we're going to have. We're going to have the Federal Society, which the players are going to be members of. We have Thorn Thistle, who's the AI. We have Rusina Outreach Command, which is like the defense/mercenary group of Rusina. We have the Powers Institute, who are psychic pro-technologists. And we have the Exchange of Light, who are neutral arbitrators. I think we're going to have to add a couple there, so let's go ahead and do that. We've got the Coalition, of Confederated. What do we call it? Confederated Systems. And we've got the Remembrance Pact. If you have any more that you'd like to see, just make something up. Tell me what you'd like to see. Let me know. We're going to take a short break here. Set the clock for 10 minutes. There we go. Now you know my secret as to how I have this nice clock here. I've let you behind the screens, and now I can never allow you to leave. All right. We will be back.